the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. "Which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that is lost until he finds it? When he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost.' Just so I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. Or what woman, having 10 silver coins, if she loses one of them, does not light a lamp and sweep the house and search carefully till she finds it? When she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost.' Just so I tell you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents." The Gospel of the Lord. Dear hearers of the Word of God, grace and peace to you from God our Father and from our Lord and our living Savior, Jesus Christ, the great shepherd of the sheep. Amen. The two New Testament writers, Luke and John, use the Greek word, it's kind of an interesting sounding word, gogizo. And it means to grumble, to murmur, to complain, to speak secretly about someone. They use that word on several occasions. And the Israelites do it a lot in Exodus. They complain, they murmur, they complain against Moses. The Pharisees, the Hellenists, the Jews, even the disciples use the same word. And complaining, grumbling is endemic. It's part of their DNA and it's passed on to us. The first one I'll use is from Luke. And the Pharisees and the scribes murmur, and that's from today. "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." So the word murmur, complain. The next one is the Pharisees and their scribes were complaining to Jesus' disciples, saying, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" And then from the Gospel of John, the Jews began to complain about him because he said, "I am the bread that came down from heaven." Again, these are just a few examples about how grumbling and murmuring and complaining is just part of who we are. You put people together, and inevitably, anxiety spreads. It's like an infection. It's like a virus. It just gets passed on and passed on. It's hard not to get sucked into it. Have you ever been to just come to a group of people and all of a sudden, "Oh, what's going on?" And they're complaining about something, and next thing you know, you're like, "Yeah, you're right. It is pretty bad." And it's easy to get sucked into that. Jesus is not immune from being on the receiving end of this murmuring and complaining, as I showed you. And again, the very first thing, the thing that sets the stage for Jesus telling these parables, and he's got 3 of them in a row, he tells them, but we have the first 2 today. It's this grumbling, complaining, and it's his response to this grumbling and complaining that Jesus gives. Why? How does God do this? Why does Jesus eat with tax collectors and sinners and drink with them? Chapter 15 in Luke, it's probably got the best known parables of everyone. I'm going to use this one before I get there. This is Jesus' Last Supper. So this goes back to the question of why are they complaining about him eating and drinking with them? What's the big deal about eating with people? Well, If you look at the table here, you'll notice what is missing from that table. Chairs. What else is not there? There's bowls, but where are the plates and saucers, right? Well, how they ate back then was like family style. They put a big thing of food in the middle. People would take a piece of bread in their hand, their bare hand, dip it into the food, and eat it. And everyone else would do that. If you've ever been to an Ethiopian restaurant, that's how they do it. A friend of mine took me there. And I go, well, how do you eat? So no, you just tear a piece of this bread. It reminded me of lefse, actually. So I got me thinking about lefse. But anyway, you grab it and you grab it from your hand and you use it like you grab a piece of meat or whatever you're grabbing into the bread and you just eat it. And it was awesome. I tell the owner, says, "Oh, how's the food?" And he takes it and goes, "This food is cold." And I'm like, "I thought you were supposed to eat it cold." He goes, No, we don't eat food cold. And anyway, it was pretty funny. I didn't know. I thought, oh, that's what you do. But that's how they ate. So they eat food, dipping into the bowl. And this is what Jesus says at the Last Supper. He says, "One of you is going to betray me." And they all said, No, it's not me. It's not me. No way. He says, "It is one of the 12. One who is dipping bread into the bowl with me." That's how they ate. So if you're with a sinner and you're touching their hands, you're touching their food, you might get some of their, have you ever heard of the phrase double dipping? You're not supposed to double dip with your Cheetos or not Cheetos, but your tortilla chips and you're supposed to not do. Well, that's what they were doing. And saying you're mixing your food and you're eating food that someone else touched. And you're contaminating yourself by eating with these sinners and you're drinking out of the same cup. And it just drove them nuts. That's why they were grumbling so much. Because how can you expose yourself to this sort of contamination by eating with them? That's why it was such a big deal. The word companion. To invite someone to a meal was an honor. It was an offer of peace, an offer of trust, of brotherhood, of forgiveness. You are welcoming into your home usually, and you're saying you are protected in my home. You're under my protection. In fact, in the Middle Eastern world now, if you offer food to your enemy, you are forbidden to harm him for at least 3 or 4 days. Because you can't do that. You offered him food, you're under his protection. So that's how it works. And so to share a meal, to share food, to share bread means you're a companion, one who shares bread with someone, to share your life. And that's what they're complaining about. You're sharing your life with these sinners, and you're touching them, and you're eating food with them. And so an earlier commentary that the scribes and the Pharisees knew, it was in the earlier commentaries of the Jewish scriptures, put it this way. Oops. Why don't I have it? I forgot that one. There is joy before God when those who provoke him perish from the world. There is joy before God when those who provoke him perish from the word. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means those who provoke God, they're sinners. What did it mean for Jesus' day? Well, the tax collectors in those days were mostly crooks, and they rip people off. They're stealing from the Jews. They work for the Roman government, so it's a double-edged sword for them. It made it doubly worse. And sinners meant what it means now, people who are going against what God would have you do. Well, Jesus spent a lot of time welcoming those people, eating with them, talking with them, and visiting them with them. And so they didn't like it. This fellow eats with sinners, and he welcomes them. Jesus responds not by saying, so what? Who cares? It's none of your business what I do. He doesn't say that at all. He doesn't say that at all. What does he do? He tells them stories. He tells them stories. The first one is about the 99 sheep in the wilderness. The next one is about a woman who loses her coins and finds one, or lost one coin and finds it. And the third one is the man who had two sons and they both are lost to him, to the father. The parable of the prodigal son. And we covered that one earlier in the summer, so I won't go into that. But we have this today. Oh, there it is. There's joy before God. That was the view the Pharisees thought. Why in the world is Jesus associated with it? Well, he tells these parables in response, and part of it is, this would never happen. This would never happen. Oh, things like that don't happen. They only happen in the movies. They only happen in make-believe. The other day, we were watching TV, my wife and I. It's a crime show. It's called Mind Hunter. It's a Netflix thing about FBI stuff. It's kind of cool. And we both said the same thing. This guy's going to school. He wants to audit a class. He drives his car, shows the guy drive up right to the front of the building he's going into and finds a parking space. We both said, there's no way he'd find a parking spot that quick. He'd have to walk several blocks. That only happens in the movies. Another thing that only happens in the movies is that any window you look out of, in any building in Paris, you're going to see what? That. Yeah. Is that true? No, but that's only in the movies it's true. I remember this one movie, Kurt Russell. It's called Executive Decision. It came out years ago. But I was into that because I was just learning how to fly an airplane. And this movie about this guy who just learned how to fly a plane. He just soloed out his plane. And then at the end of the movie, he's flying a what? Anybody know how that ends? He's not flying a small plane. He's flying a 747. And he lands it, and he survives. Now, is that going to happen? That doesn't happen. But it happened on the movie. I mean, I saw it. It happened, so I guess it's true, right? You know? Only in the movies. Only in the movies. Jesus tells these parables, and part of the response is, what? Really? Who's going to do that? Who is going to do that? A man is going to leave 99 sheep to look for a lost one. A woman is going to throw a party to celebrate the finding of a lost coin. Does anyone actually do that? Is it just like this one movie? Anybody know what this one is? Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If all of a sudden you just start singing in a parade, the whole parade will stop and sing with you and sing Twist and Shout, right? Some of you have seen the movie. And they all join in. He doesn't get arrested. He doesn't get handcuffed. No, they just all join in with him. Is that what happens in real life? Are these stories, what are they trying to communicate? The lost sheep, the lost coin. But they're not about us, they're about God. So instead of saying to the people who are grumbling, it's none of your business what I do. Or so what? I can do what I want. He says, I want you to imagine you got 100 sheep in the wilderness. And one gets lost. So now you got 99. And so you leave the 99 in the wilderness. And you're going to go out and look for the lost one and rejoice when you find it. Right? They look at him like, not if you're in the sheep business. I mean, you're not going to be in it for very long if you do it that way. Nobody in his right mind is going to leave the 99 in the wilderness. I mean, it's only one. I mean, who's going to do that? And why would they? People would think he's nuts if he did that. Why is he going? Why is he saying this? The one lost sheep stands for all of us. And he's saying this story not because about the sheep, but he's talking about the shepherd. And if it's necessary, this shepherd, who is God, will go out of the sheep business looking for the lost one. For there is joy over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous who don't need repentance. Now, this is the one that the Pharisees learned. There is joy for God in those who provoke him perish from the world. But Jesus says something else. This is a saying, this is a teaching that everyone knew. They didn't really know who it was attributed to, but it was a common saying. This is what Jesus says. I say to you. I say to you. He's claiming this. I say to you, there is more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 persons who need no repentance. But here's the question. Did any of you ever meet one of those 99 righteous persons who don't need repentance? You meet anyone who didn't need repentance? Me neither. Jesus is interested in finding the ones who need repentance. And since there isn't any righteous out there, who is Jesus after? Every one of us. Every one of us. We're all lost. We all need to be found, one way or the other. And to prove it, he tells another parable about a woman. It's not a shepherd, it's a woman. It's a very strange woman, but it's a woman. This woman has 10 coins. She finds one of them is missing. And what does she do? She drops everything. She stops everything she has to do. And she lights a light. She lights a lamp, goes in all the dark corners in her house, and spends the whole day looking for this coin until she finds it. And then she finds it, she gets on the phone and says, "Hey, guess what? I found my coin. Come on over. I got Twinkies and cream soda. We're going to celebrate. I lost my coin." And the friends are going to go, "You lost your coin? And you want us to come? Oh, we'll be over." And they're not that excited about it. But she is. She is. And that's the point. That's the point. It tells us something about God. Now, I can get excited about losing coins. Okay? If I had some coins that I couldn't find, now I'd look for them. Okay? That's worth searching. But a coin, not so much. Now, with the lost sheep, you can feel some pity. You can imagine this poor lamb in the snow, almost dead, and there's the crows right there. I remember my friend, Galen. Galen had a house, he lived in a house, and he had a brand new TV. And he told me, it's a color TV. And we lived in a house that had a black and white TV. And our black and white TV is about this big. Because when you sat in the couch and looked across the room, that's as big as you could see it. His was this big. He was, "You want to come over and see my new TV?" I'm like, "Sure." We hadn't seen it. He had a Sylvania. So right away I was trying to make fun of his, but it was color. And of course he rubbed it in at Christmas time when he told me that the Grinch was green. You saw the Grinch on TV. It was green. And I just thought to myself, my Grinch is gray. This is green. Okay, fine. Well, I saw his TV, and I remember the name of the TV, but I remember what was above the TV. And this picture was above it. And I'll never forget it. It just drew me in. And I thought, man, that looks cold. Why is the dog howling? Well, and then I didn't see the lamb right at first because it's right, it's kind of camouflage. I thought, oh man, I hope someone comes for that because there's crows there. They just landed. And you know about crows. Crows are one of the smartest birds in the world. You know that. Have you ever seen I haven't seen many dead crows on the side of the road. I don't know about you, but I rarely see them. I see them eating an animal, but I don't see them dead. You know why they're so smart? Well, on the side of the road, when the car comes, there's crows on the side of the road. One of the crows gets up and says, "Car! Car! Car!" Yeah, well. Oof, yeah. We have this picture in our fellowship hall. It's when you go out for coffee today. It's right in the back wall. We can imagine the sheep, needing to be lost. We have some pity for it, but not for a coin. A coin is like, whatever. It doesn't even know it's lost. One place on the ground is as good as any. Gravity doesn't care of it. Doesn't know. And sometimes we don't know either. We don't know. The point of the parables is that what governs God's behavior is not our sins, but His searching for us. It's about our being lost, even when we don't know it. And God won't stop until He finds us. And when the lost are found, God throws a party. And He wants all of us to join in. And that's not only in the movies. Amen. Please stand now and let us confess together our Christian faith using the words of the Apostles' Creed.